Hi there, and welcome once more to the fields of Scourge of War, Waterloo once again. I'm your host, PPChoo, and today we're tackling the grand campaign from the perspective of Field Marshal Sir Arthur Wesley, Duke of Wellington. This is the full 9-hour slog for the game. I hadn't intended to take on the full campaign here, but I figured we'd take a look at it, see how far we get into it, and really kind of play it forwards from there. So a couple of things. Again, I hadn't intended this to be a full campaign or a full let's play type of deal, so we'll see whether or not this gets to a point where either the frame rates are really low, being that us alone, we control 73,000 troops, so it'll be quite a slog, and it being 9 hours and all, I'm not necessarily committed to that just kind of in itself, but we'll see. One of the things is that I'm not sure how well the AI will perform and whether or not at the end of the battle I will be able to record, just given the sheer amount of units we see on the screen. But we'll see how it is early on in the game and really where we end up. So for the duration of this battle, we get to check out all of the features of the game in whatever form they are like. So in the past, we've taken a look at the battles in the center of the map over here in La Haye, La Haye Saint, something like that over here. We've taken a look at the advances on the side flanks as well, and the fight at Hougoumont over here at the it'd be our right flank. So I think we've seen enough of the battlefield to get familiar with it, and with that said, I think we're able to just kind of tackle on the campaign to some extent at least. So let's get the show going, shall we? So the battle commences at 11:30 during the day. French have just started firing the first of their cannons, and from the sounds of it, we are just retaliating. So things are getting started right now. This appears to be the center of our lines. If we come over here, this is where the battle traditionally or starts to kind of pop in and out of. So this is where we will be. Couple of things. I will get our forces over here, stationed inside the woods to pull back from the fighting in the very midst of these woods here. It's just simply because I don't intend to hold these forests, and with that said, I think it'd be a better move just to kind of pull back, so we'll do that immediately. That should hopefully save us on some losses, and more or less just keep more of our keep it so that we can fight the battle later on during the day at a much more effective pace. So yeah, inside this scenario, we get the full troop of forces here. As the briefing for the mission has said, most of these forces will be under AI control for the most part, and for now we don't have to do too much. Luckily, the battle starts out a kind of piecemeal in the sense that it starts off on the flank over here and kind of gradually moves into things. So I've played this scenario up until the 1 hour and 30ish mark, and what I've seen is that honestly the AI doesn't necessarily retaliate as much as I had expected it to. So this is both good and bad, and with that said, we'll see whether or not we can run this for any extended amount of time, but don't count on it, mostly because during my playthrough, and again, the AI for these games, they're not terrific, just given the amount of factors there are to kind of consider. What had happened was that the AI just kind of committed, I want to say, about 3 brigades full of infantry, so that's 12,000 men to this fortress really in the first hour or so. And with that said, the AI got wrecked, so that's kind of the battle at a glance here. And that's kind of what both commanders had in perspective during the actual battle. They kind of both realized that if they were able to kind of trap the enemy into the mindset that capturing this place would be the deciding thing during the battle, they'd kind of win under the impression that so long as the British held it first, the British could just kind of gradually shift in very, very small amounts of troops relative to however many the French were bringing, and just kind of perpetually hold it while it's causing huge losses, and if not huge losses in fatigue and things like that to kind of seal the day. So in the meantime, we'll try to shift up some cannons because I've had the pleasure of using canister shot to great effect in this map, and we'll try to see whether or not we can do it the same thing here. But in the meantime, let's get some of the Belgian and Dutch troops to move on forwards from here. They've brought their own little army, and we can get these guys to reinforce what we have going on in the on the flank. Really, the thing about their forces is that I'm not sure what they did with these men in reality. I'm under the impression that maybe they were used to guard the flank over here, the extreme flank, because I mean the French do have some cavalry directly facing over here, but we should be fine with bringing them closer to the battlefield. I would prefer it if they were closer, in fact. So, with that said and done, let's see some of the other game features. Firstly, let's get the AI's artillery pieces to start to target infantry units. I would really like it if they could press upon a sense of urgency on the French infantry over here. So, my idea is this. We want to keep the fortress generally staffed with infantry. For now, I can wait upon it for a while, and the idea is to just constantly rotate men in and out the fightings to keep their morale high, to keep them energetic, and to just kind of gradually bleed the French forces that come along here. And in that process, I'll get some of these people to lay down. What I want to do is that, well, one of the things about this period is that, I mean, a few well-placed guns are worth 20 or so of badly positioned guns. And my idea, which worked really well, was to get a couple of cannons, not too many, just a few, to come up along this ridge here. And you got 4 different types of ammunition for your cannons, right? So I mean, you have your standard solid kind of round ball shot. You have shells, which I'm under the impression is just a slightly better version of them. Then you got your shrapnel kind of explosive shot, but more importantly, we have canister rounds. So in reality, I mean, canister rounds, chances are is that you can kind of fire them off at 200 or 400 yards or so. I don't know about the conversion to meters in that. The game runs in yards, so I use yards. But so far in the game, it would seem as though the range is lower than that. But anyhow, as you may have noticed, some of our units here, they have about 15 of these in tow, right? So with that said, if I can bring them up here, provided that I can set them up nicely, we can do a lot of damage by using them kind of as a reverse siege cannons is how I would put them against the French here. The only question is whether or not they can actually fire at that 400 yards. So far, I've had luck with them at 200 yards, so we'll have to see. No, they can fire, or no, they're firing standard shot right here, so we'll see. With any luck, I mean, the French gets closer to us, so I mean, either way, it's not too bad. The other question is whether or not we want more cannons up here than the 3 I've chosen. So we'll see. Yeah, because what I was noticing earlier with these cannon batteries was that I had, in my test game, I had positioned them up over here, so I figured, yeah, I mean, the terrain over here, the grass and all, I figured that was mostly just kind of for show, and it wasn't. None of my cannons were hitting effectively into this distance. Well, I mean, they caused 6 casualties for a good 30 minutes of fire, right? So they weren't worth very much. And then I started moving them onto this kind of ridge, while my troops solely within Huguemont tied up the French forces, and I thought that worked really well. So now for this time, I think I'll try to shimmy up the cannons. It'll take, and moving these cannons manually takes a lot of fatigue out, so I don't want to do this too often, but I think I'll try to shimmy these forwards and see whether or not we can make any plays using them, really. So there, I think that's as far as we can get them to go. Yep, they seem to be able to shoot over. They're at 260 yards. see whether or not we can use shrapnel still. No, they are being blocked. Except for this one. This one is firing. So, no. So we'll see. Right, the main thing was that I had hoped that we could use this small road, kind of sunken road, as a way to get our cannons to fire over, but it doesn't look like that's happening, unfortunately. I'll still get these cannons to stay on their current settings. Maybe if I just move the infantry out of the way here, they'll start to function better. But anyhow, having that small battery is good for now. It really depends, however, of course, on whether or not we see any more units moving up over here. Or even at that, we can wait and see how we can shift fire like that. So overall, what we should see is, oh yes, and I've reduced the view distance for the battle for the sake of keeping my FPS, for the most part, high, relative of course. But we'll see how that goes. Okay, so the French here, they seem to be committing slightly more infantry, which is very, very good to see. And what I do now is that I just kind of tab through some of my men over here, check out how many losses they are incurring, how many casualties they've inflicted onto the enemy, and so far it seems to be, well, it's not great, it's not bad as well. So we'll continue to gauge that, and we'll really just kind of see how that works out. Still want these cannons to try to fire upon infantry as best as they can. 200 yards out. They should be able to use their canister rounds now. So we'll see. We'll try to manually switch them over. 219 yards out. These people still waiting, but we'll see. Because by the time I managed to get them to use their canister rounds in my test game, it was just absurdly effective, as in these cannons could cause, let's see, right around like 300 casualties per grouping at its best. But for now, it looks like we'll have to be slightly closer for that to come into effect, perhaps. I don't know. We could try to move these people slightly farther. Infantry can only fire at us, remember, from a distance of right around, I think, 300 or 150 yards. So if we do maybe 175, well, you know what? I'll squeeze these people in just below 200 yards, maybe 200. I'm guessing is when the game considers canister rounds to be viable, because I mean these things are, as we've seen, or as you may have seen in other games, they're pretty much just giant shotgun shells. And as you see there, that was one of those shells in action. Causes 21 casualties immediately, so very, very powerful. And now my only consideration is, again, properly placed cannons are worth their weight in improperly positioned cannons. The only question is whether or not I want to move the rest up, and I think the answer to that is yes. There it goes again, 33. Unfortunately, I haven't been bringing us close enough to the action where we can view these these shells being fired, but be rest assured, they are absurdly deadly. There we go, that's one. But that one was, it fell slightly short. It hit the ground right over there before it made it through. Rather unfortunate. And yeah, one of the things about the battles over here is that if your units break, unfortunately, they do not come back. As in, it's impossible to rally them, even or in any state at all. So we really need to keep track of that. There we go. Managed to do 7 that time. So I guess the answer over here is to inch these guns even further. And now what I think I do is that I go back to the AI commander, go to them, switch it so that the... come on, hopefully it switches to fire on infantry as their primary target. So some of you guys may have noticed that over here we only have about 10 canistered rounds per these 2 batteries. Well, this one's been firing away. It's already dealt 40 casualties, so it's paying for itself. Anyhow, we can resupply them later on, and resupplying is a major type of theme during these large battles, of course. So with that said, we'll keep that in mind. The main thing is that I don't want to tire out my guns by perpetually repositioning them, but at the same time there's not much I can do about that aspect, because I need them to get close and I don't want to limber them and unlimber them, because that would waste so much time and resources. So I think we'll try to creep them up as best as we can. Over here maybe we can limber this one. Yeah, because these canister rounds put a lot of pressure on the enemy. So that is just going to kind of go ham and really hit them for what it's worth. So now, because they need more ammunition, and be rest assured we carry an absolute ton of them inside these artillery supply wagons. And bear in mind, the game does make the distinction between ammunition in infantry supply wagons and these Royal Artillery Corps supply wagons. So we'll bring up like actual cannon rounds for them here shortly. I don't believe this unit has fatigue. I mean, if we rush them in here, I'm guessing it doesn't do too much as a matter of fact. So I'm going to directly take control of this cannon battery in particular. The main thing is that I want them to be resting. And yeah, so in combined, the combined total of these 2 batteries alone is 100 units or men so far. So the general pacing of it is that we want to try to keep the buildings over here at Hougoumont for as long as possible. The idea being that so long as we rotate units out, watch them carefully, they won't break. And per every moment, so long as we have the cannons up here and the cannons along the ridge, we'll be able to gradually bleed the French in fatigue and in manpower at a rate higher than ours. So it's a type of a trap in the sense that so long as one side commits more to this front than anything else, gradually we'll be able to take very valuable units that you know could be probably better be used somewhere else than assaulting this position, and we'll try to do that to the fullest capability, really. Right, so now we bring up the logistics train. And as you see there, we managed to regain some ammunition for these 2 units, and well, the baggage train really just goes right on back to the back well, portions of our line. Right, and again, I have to take a look at what divisions are inside the structure, and I wish they just simply had like a little checklist type of thing there to take a look into that, but I wanted to figure out where or what forces exactly are taking damage, because it varies. I think it simulates the fact that, I mean, maybe different troops line different fronts along the structure or something like that. But I've noticed that at times you have a lot of units doing absolutely nothing in the structure, and at times you have ones that are doing a lot inside the structure. Okay, so those cannons are cutting those infantrymen pretty thin. Very, very good. And occasionally for the campaign, what I like to do is I tap the map it gives us an active, real-time kind of look into where things are happening, and so far, nothing much is going on, so very, very good. Here, we'll try to watch and see one of these barrages. Yeah, there you go. Again, really, really deadly. It's just that this unit has been cut to shreds, and there you go. It's broken. Absolutely wonderful. Right, I've noticed that these cannons over here, these are 6-pounders, so they're kind of light. Not really sure if a 5.5 howitzer would be bigger, but evidently we can hold more ammunition for this gun right over here. So with that said, I'm going to move that slightly further. They seem to be well rested as well. And we'll see what we can do. How are we doing over here? Are we still firing? Nope. Oh. Right, sorry for the delay there, where I don't know what you guys would see. I used 2 monitors and I accidentally clicked over to the other one, so evidently my recording program stops when that happens, but I don't know what you guys would see. Anyhow, I hope it still records fine, but you know what, I think we'll make a video cut here just so that I can refresh that, and, you know, better safe than sorry, right?